we're tasked with a concept of, just facilitation basics, and we weren't quite sure who the audience would be. And so we put together this little presentation that focused both on consensus-based decision-making and facilitation basics. As we've already heard, we're really trying as a fellowship to bridge our service border boundaries. And many of these have a history of disagreements that might have been one body but found reasons to split. Differences have mellowed, obviously, and technology and new personalities has allowed us to work together and accomplish some valuable tasks, as we've already heard in this meeting. And so what I'm here to talk about is consensus-based decision-making that many service bodies have adopted, to approach service meetings that seem to be a bit more cooperative and less confrontational than the traditional approaches based on Robert's Rules of Order. And I've got my fun screen here, consensus-based decision-making. And I'm speaking to it as the facilitator of the Chicagoland region. We've been using consensus-based decision-making there for 15 years. The Midwest Zone Forum also uses consensus-based decision-making. I've been facilitating Chicagoland region for almost 2 years. My term actually expires next month. And we're a wonderful region that meets monthly, which is a bit more than we need. But anyway, I've got a lot of experience doing this. And basically the way we've done it is that we've stripped out all boundaries. Basically, anyone, whether you're an RCM or not, can come to our region and raise a topic. We don't have a full 100% consensus, but few things ever need to come to a vote. We have an 80% consensus, and when votes arise, each area, we have 14 entrusted servants, except facilitators can vote. All voices get heard and considered. I'll talk a little bit about processes. Anyone can make a topic of discussion, as we call it. During new business, the maker of that topic discusses their concern and answers questions. If a proposal emerges from the discussion, facilitator takes a quick straw poll. And if there's consensus, the decision is made. No need to continue discussion. It's really quick. But if the straw poll shows there is no consensus, we continue discussion. The facilitator listens very carefully to find possible compromises. If a new proposal emerges, see if there's consensus around it and continue discussions. And if there's not a consensus, to see if there is one. And so if a complete consensus does not emerge, we take a vote and see if there's 80% support. And if there is no consensus, the facilitator has several options. We can table it to a subcommittee who may have it. We can assign an ad hoc committee to investigate. Many of these proposals involve policy at some level, and so frequently those automatically get sent to the policy committee unless it's a real easy one. And oftentimes the proposal just dies, And as facilitator, whichever option I think needs to go, I always run it past the body first. Hey, does anybody disagree to tabling this or something like that? And and my basic role as facilitator is I manage the agenda, make sure it keeps on time. I make sure that everyone is able to speak or ask questions. One of the biggest challenges for an opinionated guy like me is to be open-minded and unattached to any outcome. And if I do have one, I don't express my opinion. And I'd say the two most important things I have to do is I have to listen, but I can't just listen. I have to hear, because I really have to focus on the discussion that people are talking about. Our policy does require votes on budget, which we've never taken because we always consent those anyway. For elections, we actually have paper ballots. We don't require candidates to leave the room so that we can trash them while they're out in the room. But because of that, we have paper ballots. So if you don't agree with someone, you don't have to publicly show it. Also, motions of no confidence get votes. The benefits of this approach for us has been that over time, everyone really feels a part of the process and learns to trust it. If less than full consensus is rare, It is much easier to accept an unfavorable outcome if you're in a small minority. I mean, if you're 20% versus 80%, then you know it's okay to be at peace with not getting your thing. Okay. And it's also, you know, there are a lot of rules in any position you use that can you manipulate, and consensus-based decision-making kind of eliminates the need to do that because you can always be heard. Your views will always be considered. We don't need motions and seconds and pros and two cons and that sort of thing. Every idea gets discussed or considered, you know, believe it or not, that has not resulted in a deluge of ideas because people trust our process. Another benefit is that, as I said this, anyone can participate. You don't need to be an RCM or a trusted servant. Easy decisions come quick. If no one disagrees on the first straw poll, you just move right on. Tough decisions may make a bit more time, but the final solution is always better because it reflects everyone's views and all ideas have been considered. And then here's a more controversial issue that I have, frankly, you know, anyone with experience doing consensus-based decision-making will tell you that a decision reached by consensus feels a lot more in keeping with the spirit of Tradition Two than a decision formed by a simple majority or a 2/3 vote. You know, God expresses himself very effectively if you all agree. It's really amazing. And one of the things that I do as facilitator is you know, I try to make my service body fun, and people don't and there are a couple of regional people here from Chicagoland. People don't you know try to avoid region. They like to come. Our region has been very, very well attended. And I'm really grateful for the atmosphere that consensus-based decision making has made.